What are the top 10 reasons why people work for a certain company? I won't be wrong to say that this is one of the highly searched questions on Google today. I think the ladies at Tasha&Girl pretty much sum up their reason very well. क्योंकि हमें इज्जत मिलता है. We work here because we are respected. Welcome to the world of Tasha&Girl. This company is special because A, the fruit spread or jam recipe is 4 generations old. B, 100% of the production team is women. C, neither the women nor their customers ever leave them. While Tasha makes the jam, the girl makes faces. Join me on this heartwarming chat with the co-founder Natasha at Candid with Candy, all the way from Pune, Maharashtra, India. If this is your first time, my name is Candy, your host for the show. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you like it. Do not forget to subscribe. A very good evening to Natasha from Tasha&Girl.
Thank you, Candy, and thank you for having me here.
I thought it'll be interesting to, talk about how Tasha&Girl started. I believe these jams were your grandmother's recipes. So
Yes.
maybe you can give us a little bit of a snippet of that story, and then we will move on from there.
Sure. In fact, not a single day goes by when I don't thank not just my grandmother, but also my great-grandmother, and most definitely my mother. Because for me, these recipes are what I would term my heritage, and it's been passed on across generations. We grew up in Assam. We were tea kids because my father used to be in the tea estate, and my mom was a great cook. And so she had these recipes that she would say she learned from her mom, and her mom in turn learned from hers. So it was natural that as I grew up and as I became a mother, I wanted to experiment much more in the kitchen and, experiment with the things that are first familiar to us. So I would experiment by making different things, and one of them was jams. And then it just so happened that a lot of the apartment kids who would come and have play dates at our place would really eat well and go back. And their mums would keep calling me and saying, Nats, I don't know what is it that you do, but they really eat well. And they say, Natasha, auntie makes this really amazing jam. So I would just pass on jams. Still, it occurred to me, why not do something where I can actually commercialize and productize a homemade taste in all its pureness. That was the thought, which is why I keep thanking my grandmother every single day. Of course, it has been through various versions, no doubt. My great-grandmother, grandmother, mom, and then now me. In the sense, in today's context, I think I would be very wrong to use the quantity of sugar that my great-grandmother did then. We're a lot more aware now and perhaps a lot more conscious of healthier eating. So I've had to tweak it, and probably the version that I use now is my version.
Got it. No, that's a very interesting, heartwarming story. I could actually picturize this whole, generation after generation, and that jam going through various processes.
In fact, my grandmother, so my mom tells me, I don't know if it's true. Every time you would go to her and you would tell her in Nepali, I don't know how to do this. And my grandmother's response would always be, figure it out.
So now let's move on to why you call it Tasha&Girl.
Sure. In fact, it's one that's very close to my heart. I think when we are younger, I believe that we lack inhibition. So as a young girl in my teens, when I used to go to the market, I would see a lot of shops. For example, Das and Brothers, Singh and Sons. And I remember asking my mom this one time, why do they call it Das and Brothers and Singh and Sons? So the homes that have daughters, and if they have a business, what would they call it? And my mom just kind of didn't really answer me. She just kind of gave me that's just the way it is kind of an answer. And it wasn't enough for me. That answer was very incomplete. And it was just one of those very simple conversations, but somehow it stayed with me all these years. So it bothered me And at that time, I was rebellious. I think sometimes I still am. I had made up my mind that when I grow up, if I ever do any kind of business, it has to have either girls or daughters or something in it.
Sometimes these little things have so much of an impact, and subconsciously it's something that you keep carrying with you. And you're right, I never really questioned it. In Shillong, we used to have, Leela brothers. Agarwal and Sons is another one that I remember.
Oh, very common. Agarwal and Sons is like, this is very common.
You are trying to change that. And little did you know that you will end up with a daughter eventually after a year.
Look at that, really.
So thank you so much for that story. I love that story. And I was like, we have to talk about it. So can you tell us a little bit about, the different products that you have with Tasha&Girl?
We have some foreign buyers. Thus far, we've shipped to the US, Australia, and UAE.
Okay.
On Amazon, we are in Amazon India. So as you said, Pan India. And one of the reasons why we are on Amazon is because the nature of our product is such that it needs to be in glass bottles because we use traditional recipes. We don't have any artificial preservatives or really pretty pink strawberry jams with lots and lots of color in it. That's not us. So ours is a deeper red, for example, or a wine red when it comes to the strawberry jam that we have. We don't put colors. Our jams are safe for children as young as 2-year-old to eat without being too worried about excess sugar. Wow. And of course, we work with fruits that are locally available to us. So being in Maharashtra, we are very lucky. So we get a good amount of mangoes. We use only Alfonso mangoes. We get decent quantities of figs. So we have figs that we use. And then of course, strawberries. So these are the 3 fruits that we work with currently. Only fruit spreads at the moment. But of course, we are in the phase of developing other products along with just fruit spreads / jams.
I'll get back to you on that point in terms of, the future for Tasha&Girl in terms of your vision. Before that, right, another very interesting fact is your staff. I want you to let everybody know, who they are and where they're from. But sure. I want you to begin with how you hired people, to work for you at the factory.
Sure. So Candy, like I shared when we spoke, I do have a corporate background. So obviously I was part of the L&D learning and development teams. Therefore, hiring, process, training, all of these things is just part of my DNA. Till you're in the corporate world, you take systems and processes for granted. Till you come into an area like mine, where you're trying to work on a farm, which is in a village, and you're doing hiring. So I used to actually send my driver to the local shops in the villages, and I would tell him just go and ask shopkeepers if he may know of women who might be available to work. And as you know, a man going to another man, asking for women to come and work in a village is really not looked upon nicely. It's frowned upon. So he would come back and he would say, Madam, koi nahi hai. I realized the mistake that I made. So I decided I'll go to the local shops. And being a lady, I think they were kinder. So then I started putting up posters. I would tell people to write something in Marathi and put it up in these local shops, that we're looking for women, we're planning to open a factory, we need for them to come on this date at this time for an interview. As luck would have it, on the day of the interview, there were 129 women who showed up.
Wow.
Now, how do I filter? Because in corporate, it's very clear, X number of years of experience, these certifications, this degree, this course, blah, blah, blah. And you keep filtering till you meet, the lot that you really need. So I said, I have to find a way to filter this process. I said, I have a task. Each of you will have to come back and open a bank account in your own name, because most of them didn't have bank accounts. If they earned, it would either be cash or they would ask for it to be transferred to their husband's account, son's account, brother's account, but not their own account. So this was something very important to me. I want the women to have their own bank accounts when they work with me. But once again, to my luck, 57 57 women from the 129 showed up, showing me their bank accounts. And I was like, oh my God, now I've put myself in a spot. So what do I do? So then I did a hygiene check. I told them to show me their nails, just an overall appearance, because you're working with food products. I need to train them. So I did a hygiene check, and then I did a first come, first take. And that's how I got my first 8 women.
Wow. Yeah, that process was extremely unique. A very smart thing to do, because opening bank accounts in villages for women is a big deal. It's a very big deal, and they would have also been quite surprised. I'm sure some of them didn't really understand the intent behind, that.
They didn't.
Yeah, I did.
No, but of course, in months to come, and now that it's been 5 years, silently, when you look at some of their faces, they get what I was trying to do. Yeah. And that means so much to me, because again, when you see the expression on their faces, it takes me back to my childhood in Assam. And I had back then we used to call them Aya Didis. So like my nanny, her name is Sobera. I would give chocolates to the male workers, and I would give chocolates or any mithai to Sobera. She was the only one who would wrap that chocolate in a little piece of paper, and I would ask her, why don't you eat it? And she would take it home for her kids. All of these memories kind of just tied up to the bigger goal of the product as well as the women at Tasha&Girl.
So 5 years on, are you still 8 women, or have you grown?
No, definitely not. So the way our business model works is that we don't really hire full-time. We have seasonal workers. And therefore, you always have that risk that in the next season, when I do my production months, manufacturing months, will I have these women back? I kid you not, Candy, and I'm so proud to say that they just showed up season after season. And they kept telling me that no matter, irrespective of where you go, we will come and we will work with you. They say, "Mujhe yahan kaam karna hai." And I ask them, why do you want to work here? And they always say, "Humko idhar izzat milta hai." Given their backgrounds and the financial constraints and challenges that they experience every day, they still rate respect right out there, because of which they have been with me season after season after season. So
yeah, hats off to you, hats off to the ethics, the intent, and how you kind of mold the team, right? Because the other day when we spoke, we were talking about women empowerment, right? Women empowerment for these women is 10 steps away. Before even the word empowerment existing for them, the most basic things, like you rightly said, having an account of their own, just that basic respect, coming to a workplace where they are not only respected, they get, clean food. I think you provide them food as well.
Yes, we do. When we have our morning shift, the early morning shift, not only do we provide them breakfast, we also do our own drop and pick facility. We have we have the village huge tempo that goes to pick these army of women, and you see them hanging out, and they look like these really cool dudes who are going to work and coming back. These are, again, as I said, lessons that I learned in my corporate career that I try and localize to the flavor in the village. If we have a late shift, then obviously they do get paid overtime. In addition, they get little packs of some goodies that they take home again for their kids. And this I learned because of my experience with Sobera, which I shared earlier.
These little things that you do, probably the little potli that they take back home if it's a late night shift for their children, or, providing them, breakfast, because if they do come to shift at 6 o'clock in the morning, you don't expect them to cook at 4 o'clock in the morning. I think these little things, in terms of an expense, I'm sure it doesn't hit you that hard, but just that gesture, right?
Absolutely.
Is so important, because they feel like that they're being treated as human beings, as equals. It's just so positive and so heartwarming, the whole process as you explain it. And no wonder these women keep coming back. I know you took them out for an offsite.
Yeah.
Can you quickly tell us about that story?
So while we try and encourage them to be more independent, take pride in what they do, the money that they earn, they come back and they say that, we had to pawn our gold jewelry. Now we got paid. We've got that back. I can get my daughter married or my son married. So I feel happy. And I said, listen, we've had a good season. We've done great work. So we need to celebrate it. Work hard, party harder. So let's do an offsite. So I book a bus for them, and we thought from the village, we'll go all the way to Lonavala, spend the day there, and I had booked a restaurant. However, the men back home would always question them. The older one, she came and she told me the women are facing a lot of resistance at home because of this offsite and not being a work day. Now, I knew by then the men also found comfort in their wives or their daughters or their sisters working with me, because it meant that there were no males around, no other men around, and it was like all women. So I actually called each of those difficult cases and told them that tomorrow is a very big day in the factory. It's extremely important, and all the women need to come. These women came, Candy, you had to see them. They were dressed in their best. Saris that they were going probably to attend a wedding, that kind of jewelry. They got into the bus, an all-women bus. We had so much fun all on our journey. There was music playing, they were all dancing, and they were just so free. They could sing, they could dance, they were not uncomfortable, not conscious, and it just made me so happy. And some of them came to me and said that they've never been out. And some of them said that they've been married for 8 years, but they've never really gone on an outing. Tasha&Girl could afford that dream meant so much to me. It was fulfilling, to say the least.
I'm sure, so fulfilling, so gratifying. I believe that you are 3 founders, you including your husband and another friend.
Correct.
Just 3 people, a startup, 5 years ago. And then in between, you also had the pandemic for 2 years. Yes, I'm sure, there were more difficulties than victories in the beginning.
Most definitely. Yes.
Yeah. So if you can just give us an account of maybe the top 3 difficulties that you faced.
Now, I'm not really a food tech. I'm not qualified to be from the FMCG industry, neither in the factory or in any other space. So when you move from an open pan cooking and to a vacuum pan cooking, which is literally like a capsule where you put in the right quantities of everything and you don't get to see what's happening inside. But you need to make your process so robust and know everything to the T for it to be a success. Does not happen overnight. And at the same time, this kind of an experiment cannot be done with, let's say, 100 kilos of fruit or 200 kilos of fruit. You need a ton. So every time a round is not successful, it's a complete wastage. Obviously, if you wanted to stay in the game, you had to move from that cottage industry-like feel to volumes. But along with the volumes, you also had to maintain the home-like taste. So this trial and error, every time I would go to the factory and do this, I would always meet people who would be more discouraging than encouraging. So every time I would get that answer, cook in your kitchen and stay there. And somehow that would just remind me once again of my grandmother. And if you don't know it, figure it out. Mm-hmm. So I would be like, to hell with it. I'm going to figure it out. We cracked it. And one fine day, we got this whole process in place to get the consistency we want, the taste that we want, and the volumes that a business needs. And it all came together. So that, I would say, is the number one challenge. The number 2 challenge, of course, is that we don't have a factory of our own. I said, I'm not going to go and build a factory, but I'm going to rent these factories till I get my house in order. And to rent the factories, you pretty much have to deal with local goons. One fine day, the factory manager, he said, we need to vacate this factory today. And I have probably around 50 to 60,000 bottles lying in the warehouse there, which then need to be shipped out. That was one of the scariest experiences I had. And it was nothing short of a Hindi drama. because by the time the trucks came, it was probably around 5 or 6 in the evening. It had started raining heavily. The electricity had gone off. And this guy was pressurizing me to shut the factory. And so the only option I had was, I don't know how I got the strength to drag this really heavy table right under the shutter. And I said, I'm sitting on this table and I'm sitting right under the shutter and I will not budge. And if you come even an inch closer than you are, I will create hell, and I will only move till all my bottles move. And I kid you not, Candy, I was shitting bricks as I was doing that, but I just didn't want him to know.
You have to live with these risks.
You have to. But I guess with each experience, you just become stronger and better.
And you just know how to tackle more. Yeah, absolutely. The last question on this, right? What does the future look like for Tasha&Girl?
A product extension, not just sticking to fruit spreads, which we are doing presently, but making dips, chutneys, sauces. However, the core of it will always be free of artificial preservatives. Not pretty colors all the time, but more taste, and continue to have that homemade feel. So a lot of experiments are in place as we currently speak. Of course, looking at growing the foreign markets, also greater visibility on e-commerce sites, not just Amazon, but many other e-commerce sites. And of course, all of this also means that we are looking for series funding.
That's what my next question was, right? In terms of investors, are you eyeing?
I put my hands up and I say, hey, this is all good. I am looking for investment. Yes, I am looking for money. And please reach out to us.
Welcome to Candid with Candies, Rapid Fire with Natasha, all the way from Pune, Maharashtra, India. Coffee, tea, or water?
Water.
Your favorite Tasha&Girl jam?
Figs and cinnamon.
Fill in the blanks. My team?
My team is a team of Powerpuff Girls. Yeah.
3 words to describe Tasha&Girl.
The best, the best, the best.
Did you ever have a childhood crush?
I still can't. I still don't remember his face clearly because it was Slash from the Guns N' Roses.
Oh! Assam, Delhi, or Pune?
Assam.
What's your favorite pastime with your daughter?
We do mandalas together.
What's the most expensive thing you own?
I don't know if I can safely say the brand Tasha&Girl.
One thing you miss most about working in the corporate world?
Yeah. I do miss Friday team meets.
What's the strangest thing in your refrigerator?
It's my bottle of Dalle. You know, Dalle Khorsani is this cherry chili.
What's your favorite word or favorite line?
Let it be. My daughter made this for you. I don't know if it's visible.
Oh my God. Yeah, there you go. Yay. Thank you so much. I am so touched. I never expected anything like this. And thank you so much again. Good night. Mwah.
नमस्ते, मैं हूँ सानिया और मैं नेपाल से हूँ। मैं ताशा&Girl पे हर सीजन के टाइम पे मैं यहाँ आती हूँ। नहीं मेरे साथ बहुत सारे लेडीज भी आते हैं और यहाँ आके मैडम के साथ हम लोग को बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिलता है, इसलिए मैं यहाँ खुशी से आती हूँ। नमस्ते,
माझं नाव पार्वती आहे आणि मी मॅम के पास जम के कंपनीमध्ये काम करते आहे। अच्छेशी आमची काळजी घेतात, त्या नाश्ता चहा पाणी पण देतात आम्हाला आणि आम्हाला त्यांचं काम सोडायचं नाही, आम्हाला त्यांच्यापाशी टिकून काम करायचं आहे आणि ते खूपच आमची काळजी घेतात।